Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alan with another broadcast of the Morlog Morning Digest. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Most importantly, I ask that you share the content to help the channel grow and beat the YouTube algorithms. There's a couple of links in the description below for donations, and I encourage you guys to use them. If you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'd also suggest that you go over to BitChute with that other link there in case YouTube wants to get rid of me like they have so many others. You'll be able to find me there. I don't know if any of you guys have been paying attention recently, but precious metals are trading at an all-time high, and I'm going to start out by talking about this topic because it ties into a lot of other things going on right now. You have to realize gold is trading at over $2,000 for the first time ever, okay? And if somebody would have told you this was possible a year ago, I would have told you you were crazy. Now, the fact that it's 2020 means that anything in play is on the table. We're seeing silver, right? Silver's trading at over $30 an ounce for the first time ever. It's absolutely unheard of. Bitcoin has jumped over 5% in the last week and a half. Now, that's happened before, but people said that Bitcoin was never going to get back to that growth rate again, and it has. So I want to start out by saying this. If you find yourself in the financial position to invest in crypto or precious metals, and you're willing to do your research before you do, I suggest you jump on that train now because you're not going to lose in this investment, and I'm going to explain to you why. I want to make one thing very clear before we get into this. If you do decide to buy gold or silver, do not buy paper certificates, okay? You need to get your hands on real precious metal if you're going to invest your money. Let me explain why this is the case. 2 months ago, China decided they were going to unload 200,000 tons of gold into the U.S. market. The buyers of that gold soon discovered that it was nothing more than lead bars plated with about a 1/4 inch of gold. Now, this means China doesn't have any gold reserves, because if they did, why would they unload fake gold onto the market, letting the world know that fake gold bullion is coming out of China? That hurts Chinese precious metal values immensely. And there's no way that the CCP would have allowed that to happen unless it was absolutely necessary for them to get their hands on that liquid asset. So, what this should tell you is China's economy is literally on the precipice of self-destructing. Now, the United States economy, in turn, is not too far behind. Because historically, what happened before the Great Depression, the people that knew that it was coming, right, ended up investing heavily in precious metals, all right? This is why when the United States went off of the gold standard, okay, the United States made it illegal to hoard gold because it would destroy the value of the new fiat currency if people were still bartering with their gold coins, right? It defeats the whole purpose. Got to realize our money today, right, has no value at all other than the faith that we put in it. And the people like myself that are going out and investing in these alternate currencies have lost faith in that dollar bill. And I'm going to tell you why that's happening right now, because it plays into what everybody's arguing about when it comes to Congress right now, and whether or not we're going to be getting this stimulus package, and whether or not unemployment insurance is going to stay with the 100% plus $600 guarantee. The reason people like me are investing in these heavy metals and this cryptocurrency is because we understand economics, and we understand what happens when you start printing money that has no value other than faith. This is what happened to Venezuela. This is what's happened to every socialist country known to man. Go to Venezuela right now and try to buy a loaf of bread, and you're going to need about 3 wheelbarrows of cash. And the reason is because if you just keep printing money, eventually it gets to the point where people lose faith in that dollar bill. And there's so much of it that people aren't willing to accept it anymore. And that's why people like me are saying we can't afford to issue this next round of stimulus. Now, at the same time, the United States is printing this money and manipulating our own economy, because that's what we're doing. This is currency manipulation. It's devaluing our own dollar. China has been doing the same exact thing for the last 15, 20 years in order to hurt the United States economy. And this is the game, the tug of war that's been going on back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's finally come to a head. Now, this explosion in Beirut, right, ties into all of this, and very few people understand that. That port is very important for China, okay, because of the Belt and Road and the fact that it's a strategic port for China to trade out of. It gives them access to a whole bunch of navigation lanes, etc., 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 and was a focal point of the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, let's talk about this explosion in Beirut for a minute. They want us to believe, right, that this explosion was caused by ammonium nitrate that was being stored in a facility for 6 years without adequate precautions being taken. Now, anybody that knows anything about ballistics will understand something very quickly. They want us to believe that this warehouse was full of ammonium nitrate, and that all of this ammonium nitrate went off in one explosion simultaneously. The only way that that is possible is if there is an accelerant, okay? And not only an accelerant, but there would have had to have been multiple points where explosions happened simultaneously to ignite all of that ammonium nitrate at once. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten that giant mushroom cloud like you got. You would have got multiple explosions here and there, and it would have carried on for a period of time. It wouldn't have all gone off in one big boom. What I think happened here is somebody attacked that port in order to put even more strain on the world economy, okay? You have to realize that port is responsible for a very, very large percentage of the trade in that region, as well as the shipping to Europe, as well as South America, North America. It's a very important port. It's not coincidental that happened, right? Now, that just so happens right at the same time that Donald Trump comes out and decides yesterday that he was going to ban TikTok, all right? Now, people do not understand the bigger play going on with this move either, and I'm going to elaborate on it. 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump signed an executive order. And what this executive order sets in place is China, right, has been stealing intellectual property from the United States for a very, very long time. All right? Not only has China been stealing intellectual properties, they've been using slave labor. All right? They've been behind atrocities such as the Uyghur Muslim population. Okay? And if you're wearing a piece of cotton right now, there's a 1 out of 5 chance, right, that it was made by slave labor in China by Uyghur Muslims, sorry. Now, with that being said, this executive order states that anybody in the United States that is knowingly doing business with a Chinese state-run organization that is found. So as long as you're knowingly doing business with China, okay, you can be held accountable for that company's actions, such as if that company is stealing intellectual property, okay, if that company is using slave labor, if that company is involved in human trafficking, for example, if that company is involved in any human rights violations, your assets, your property, personal or business-wise, can be seized inside of the United States, whether or not you are a U.S. citizen, right, or you are a foreign citizen. And if you're a U.S. citizen, They can seize your assets worldwide. You don't even have to be in the United States at the time, okay? What this does, okay, with the banning of TikTok and the fact that Donald Trump just signed an executive order yesterday stating in 45 days, anybody doing business with the mother company of TikTok will be able to be held liable for sanctions, means that in 45 days, anybody doing business with TikTok, right, because they're stealing intellectual property, can have their assets seized inside of the United States, frozen, and more or less be completely blacklisted from operating inside of the economy of the United States. And this is very vast and far-reaching. All right, now this ties in to the Durham probe, because everything is connected. Now the Durham probe is about to come to fruition. And Donald Trump just came out and said that what is in this Durham report is breathtaking. What this Durham report is going to prove, right, is going to prove that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, that whole cabinet, Susan Rice, Loretta Lynch, Hillary Clinton, that entire gang of 9, right, orchestrated everything that happened as far as Russiagate, Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, freaking Pedopoulos, all of this stuff, okay? It's going to implicate all of them. And there's going to be criminal charges, Christopher Wray, Strzok, Page, all of them. But on top of that, where has a lot of these people in Congress, such as Nancy Pelosi, Feinstein, Maxwell, where are they very heavily invested? They're invested in China. So is Barack Obama, Biden. Look at the Burisma dealings, okay? Look at the fact that Biden's son went over to China and ended up getting a deal that was unheard of, with no experience in the oil industry at all or the energy industry at all, just walks out of there with $1 billion. In 45 days, Donald Trump dropped sanctions. And you don't even have to be doing business with TikTok, right? Because like I just said, 2 weeks ago, he signed an executive order saying any Chinese entity. So if Donald Trump decides to simultaneously use that executive order he signed 2 weeks ago on top of the executive order he just signed involving TikTok, he's going to go after all of these people in the October surprise that we've been waiting for 2 years, 3 years, right? It's all coming to a culmination at this point. And the reason I know that this is happening is because yesterday in a press conference that 2 days ago in a press conference that Donald Trump did at Whirlpool, he came out and said that he's going after these deep state actors, and he has no choice but to go after them now because they are very rich and they are very powerful, okay? And we're probably not going to be seeing a lot of them in the near future. In other words, he's going to be insulated and secure. And the reason is because he is getting ready to make a move. Everything is moving in this direction. And you are constantly seeing everything escalate further and further and further. And at the same time we have all of this going on economic-wise, on the opposite side of the coin, we have a civil war raging in the streets of America. And then we have people like the mayor of LA County literally burning the Constitution, and the governor of California is backing this man up. So what we see happening, for example, in LA County is the mayor has decided that if you are throwing a house party in that county, they are going to literally absolve your amendments, your rights to freely form and gather under the First Amendment, right? Freedom of assembly, by turning off your public utilities, your drinking water, your electricity. In the middle of the summer in Los Angeles County, where it can get up to 115 degrees on a hot day. We're talking about taking away people's drinking water, because they decided to exercise their First Amendment right to gather on public property. Now, we see all of this happening at the same time that Molotov cocktails are being thrown at courthouses, right? Now that the state troopers came in and started defending that courthouse, the rioters decided they were going to move on, because you can't attack the state, because that doesn't help your cause. You want to make Donald Trump look bad, so now that the feds aren't out there in force out front, and the state is, these protesters have decided to go into suburbs, right? And they're not protesting, they're rioting, because they went to a woman's house and literally beat the ever-living hell out of her on her own property, dragged her out of her house and beat the hell out of her. This is America, okay? We have people driving down the street in their cars, getting their tires slashed, having dirt bikes pulled in front of them, while rioters pour down on their car, assaulting them. And people are literally so panicked for their lives at this point that they're just flooring their vehicles and running over whatever they have to get away, which is their God-given right to protect themselves, as they should. But things are going to come to a head. People are not going to be willing to deal with this for very much longer, okay? And I want to talk about what's going to happen after these elections, because no matter who wins with all this civil disorder we see going on, the Democrats are not going to concede. Donald Trump is not going to concede. John Podesta, as well as a bunch of people from both political parties, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, all three I should say, decided they were going to have war games. And they ran 5 scenarios, and only one of them, Donald Trump, wins. That's not important, because you know that there's bias there. However, what it shows is there is no scenario, according to these war games, where civil war does not erupt after this election. The most extreme case was the one where Donald Trump wins. The Democrats decide that they're going to use the Electoral College and unfaithful voters to keep Trump from getting the office. So what the war game decided to do was have the swing state Electoral College voters go against their constituents and vote Biden in on their Electoral College, even though Donald Trump won the state. Donald Trump refuses to accept this and leave office, according to the war game, right? So what John Podesta decides to have the Democrats do in this situation, right? They refuse to concede, and the West Coast of the United States secedes from the Union. Civil war, okay? These other situations, pockets all over the country end up having militias form that refuse to accept the results, and you see pockets of resistance all over the country start to form. This is what I think more organically would happen in the United States, but that is the direction we are moving. All I give you guys as a piece of advice here is to prepare for anything. Because once you come to the realization that it's inescapable, you can truly prepare for it. Alright? I also give you the advice of prepare for the worst. Because once you get it into your head that there's a possibility you and your family don't make it out of this alive, the more you're going to prepare to ensure that that course of events never even comes into the realm of possibility, okay? You have to understand, we're living in a world where none of us would have been able to predict where we are 5 months ago, okay? I've done a pretty good job, but I didn't even see it getting this crazy. Lord only knows what's going to happen after this election. Anybody that claims to be able to tell you has no fucking idea. Be prepared for all hell to break loose, because nobody on either side is going to be satisfied with losing this election. And that's the way that we have been socially engineered into reacting to this election cycle. God bless. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Remember, you and your family, at the end of the day, is all you really got.